We have already posted what I consider to be the most powerful build in the game, which is the usage of CC with immobilization and freezing enemies back and forth. Now in today's video we're going to be using something that relies purely on melee damage. There's some bosses in the game that are immune to certain types of magic, depending on the boss that you're fighting against. There's not a single boss in the game that is not like weak or that is resistant to melee damage. So if you don't really want to care about magic that much, and you mainly want to use like melee on itself, there is a spell that you can get that is further going to enhance your melee prowess. It does require a questline for you to unlock it, so I'll leave that questline on the video description so that you can go check it out for yourself, so that you can go and get the spell for yourself. That being said, we're speaking about the mysticism spell, Spellbinder. What this does is that it essentially blocks every single thing. It blocks your spirits, it blocks your transformations, it blocks your magic, it blocks all of your spells. You're not allowed to use anything but melee damage with this thing. What is the cool thing about the spell? That it increases your damage, potentially your vigor, your critical hit chance, like it turns you into a martial monster. That's what it does. However, like, there's still some things that we can do in here to potentialize our build right here. So essentially, we're going to spend all of our points right here on Spellbinder. That is going to be your main focus. The second focus is going to be your staff stance, because you're at the end of the day going to need something to deal damage. My advice is that you don't spend that much points in here, just enough so that you can get the focus attack level 4. There's things, for example, instinct. Since you do have so much vigor and you do have so much stamina, I don't think that this is worthwhile. And for example, endeavor, which allows you to use varied combos even though that you don't really have focus points, or you don't really have like the focus points, but they deal substantially less damage, which is something that you actually wouldn't want to use. So my advice is that, at least for the stance that you're going to be using, acceleration is very useful because it's healing, so that's nice. And then we have versatility, it increases damage, that's always nice. Quick hand, it increases the charging speed of your heavy attack. Regardless of the stance that you're using, this is always useful. There are many enemies and many bosses that are that they stay on one single spot for quite some time, so it allows you to charge this thing faster for heavy damage. And then we have the secondary damage, which is going to increase your DPS overall. As for the stance, you're going to be using the stance that you're always going to be using. Like, for example, the stance is going to be dependent on your weapon. So for example, let me elaborate on that. I have my weapon right here, which is a mythic weapon right here, and it's designed to deal damage with that specific stance. If I were to be using a different weapon, like for example the golden long staff, this benefits from the pillar stance, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like the mythical weapons that I have right here, like this one, for example. This also benefits from the pillar stance move, and you can actually get this in the third chapter of the game. So always base your stance depending on the weapon that you're using. So that's the base of the build. It's just two things right here: Spellbinder, the staff stance, and then your final slots, you're going to spend them all throughout the foundation. However, these are things that you should be doing once you reach the final build, once you have gotten everything. This is just a consequential extra something that it's nice to have. So for example, in here, to prioritize while you are leveling up, I would advise for you to max out the martial arts first and then the stamina second. Once you have mastered these guys right here, this is very important for your perfect dodges, and you're going to be perfect dodging quite a lot because you're a martial warrior. Finally, the final thing that you're going to be getting is going to be survival. Now, on survival, I would also advise for you to focus on damage, not stamina, not vigor. You're getting all of that from the basic, the Spellbinder on itself. Don't take any magic, don't take like any of those stuff. Prioritize on health, defense, and damage. So for example, this is the first one that I would take, this is the second one that I would take, it increases the critical hit chance, this is the third one that I would take, it increases the critical hit damage, and also the Spellbinder increases your critical hit damage as well. There's many weapons and armors that also increase your critical probability and damage as well. So yes, it would be first one this, second this, then this one, and then this three right here, it would be the order that you would like to have them. It's not consequential, but that's how I would go about this build. On your drinks is also going to be dependent always on being a warrior. So for example, the focus on the game, more often than not, you will see that all of the epic soaks that you have right here, all of them are based on the usage of spells right here. We're not going to be doing such a thing. Just use whichever one that you would say that it would give you the most benefits when it comes to resistances, to health, to defense, and things like that. I like, for example, to use the Fruit of Deo to increase my iframes when we're doing dodging, because yes, we are a fighter, and then, for example, the Bee Mountain Stone for us to be able to heal more often. Same thing happens whenever you're using your curios, whenever you're equipping your curios. Here, for example, I have damage reduction. Here, for example, I have increase and gainage of focus points. So that's the focus in here. On the armors, it's also going to be dependent on being a fighter as well. One of the early armor sets that you can get is the Gale Guard Beast Maw armor. This gives you more focus when you're doing perfect dodges, although I would just use two of the pieces right here because the other one is for the cooldown of spells. The long scale battle robe, it's also very useful if you're using specifically the long weapon. So yeah, those are some really nice combinations that you can have right there. I'm using the serpent scale battle robe in here because it recovers a small amount of health and also gives you more vigor when you're fighting water. And there's many bosses that you're going to be fighting on water on this game. As a matter of fact, I would say like 50% of the bosses that you fight in this game are are standing on water, blood, or things like that. So yeah, just focus yourself on something that is going to give you a prowess as a martial warrior. For the spirit, you want to use the Gore-Eye Deist. This guy is, you get it on the second chapter of the game. It is not in a secret area. You're going to stumble upon it, upgrade it as much as you can possibly do. Yes, the equip effect is going to increase your mana, which you're not going to be using. But what this guy does is that it increases your damage substantially when you cast it. Ideally, what you want to do is you cast this guy, and then you cast the Spellbinder to furthermore increase your damage that much more. Like I said, this is a very useful build against very specific bosses that don't allow you to use certain specific spells, that cancel your spells, that don't allow you to use Immobilize so that they are immune to freeze damage. One more thing that I would like to point out as well is that you can by all means use transformations and spirits and your overall relics. At the start of each fight, you're going to be using your spirit, your vessel, and your transformation. Once you run out of them, you're going to use the Spellbinder. Just make sure that you don't use any mana at all, because the spell requires the entirety of your mana. If you have less, just 1 point less in mana, you're not going to allow to cast it. So then again, transformation, spirit, vessel, and then Spellbinder. Anyways, if you like the content, liking the video is super appreciated. And also, you today, you're a gorgeous beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel. You're in the Discord. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.